At this time, I'd like to call the special session of the KCBPU Policy Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Groneman,
Aye, here.
Mulvaney Henry. Here. Parker,
Here.
Form,
Okay, ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Okay,
all right.
in second, roll call.
Groneman,
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
motion passes.
Now it's time for us to take up and continue the review. And I think we left off at 14. We had 15, 16 last week.
That is correct, sir. Mr. President.
Madam Chairperson. How you doing, Rose?
Johnson.
Section 14.
And we discussed 14, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can jump to 15.
Hey, Rob, if you want to resolve that comment, we did add a definition for late payment charge. Obviously, I made no other edits there. I don't know if anybody else had
I didn't
anything.
have any.
The only thing I had on that was where we say may, the courtesy phone call or text message may. Why don't we, why would we not do that? Why would it not say shall be made or will be made?
Because that if we have something technically that happens, if we can't make those robocalls, if there's something that goes on, which it has happened before, if something happens, we cannot send it, then we don't. So if you say will, then Angela said, then you have to do it because you're saying you're going to do it. If you say may, we're going to do it. But if something happens where we don't get the opportunity to do that, you
Would
still
that
have
just mean
been.
that you would have to wait till the next day? What would cause you to not be able to send?
Rob, you want to give a little bit better, add to that explanation?
Sure, the process runs on the server that creates the files and hands them off to MillSoft, and then MillSoft goes through and actually does the phone campaigns, the auto dialers. So if there's any problem with the generation of those files, the transfer of them to the server, or the loading them into MillSoft, or if MillSoft has any kind of a network outage or system outage for their IVR, then those calls will not go out. And since those files get created daily, loading two files the next day actually causes some problems with those systems. So it can interfere with the ability for the next day's calls to go out to try to merge multi-days into a single day. And in those instances, those trace calls have not gone out, and we still,
How often does that happen?
the 5 years I've been here, it's probably less than 12 times, but it does happen a couple of times a year.
So can we not put a caveat that unless, due to a technical difficulty beyond control of KCBPU or
It
something
will
like
be
that?
done except
Shall
in
be
case.
done.
Right, make an exception.
Works for me. So. A phone call or courtesy text message, you want this to say will?
Shall.
Be attempted to the phone number on file to notify the customer of late payment. Unless,
Except in instances where a technical difficulty beyond the control of KCBPU occurs. It's pretty good off the top of my head.
Real good.
Would that also apply to the second paragraph?
That, and then I was gonna say then the second paragraph would be the same.
So the first line, yeah, it said
Shall,
shall.
Oh, shall.
just to be consistent.
Well, so in the sentence that says payment must be made before the cutoff date noted, gonna be on or before?
Did we discuss part of this before? Where if it's already programmed in for that day? We run into an issue?
Actually, let me hear what it is. The. Payment must-
Well, I think we have to talk about whether or not that's actually possible, Rob, before we add it.
And it was the deal that there would be a cost to us or staff time cost if we pulled it back on the day of because that work has already been done, or was it that the system just wouldn't allow it to be canceled day of? Or, sorry, the disconnect to be canceled day of.
Right, so if you say can be on that day, since we run disconnects at a certain time during the day, if you leave it, then we'd have to try and say on or before this specific time.
Sure.
Because if somebody says, well, I paid at 12 o'clock, you turn me off, but you should turn me back on because I've already paid. And then we'd have to say, well, already been disconnected. If there's any other difficulties where they may not run at that time, Mark, which they have before, we run them later, we run them throughout the day, then it's then changing that time. So we
Right.
not allowed them on that day because they've already been scheduled and they're already ready to go out. So it would take a lot of trying to make that work for that day.
What time of day do we
Same.
schedule disconnects for?
You mean what time did we turn
I
off?
thought what I heard you say was that we schedule them for a certain time of
There's
day.
a certain time of day.
Is it the
In the
same time
morning.
all the time?
So we schedule them in the morning?
Yes.
So even day of doesn't provide a large window?
So all the disconnects are scheduled the previous day. They're loaded, they're disconnected that next day. So we didn't just schedule them that morning when you came in. They were scheduled. Prior to them leaving, yes, the day
Okay.
before, prior to the representative leaving, they're scheduled, they go the next.
What happens if someone, I'm assuming that happens, end of work day, the day before? Someone pays online at 10 o'clock at night the day before, does that get pulled back?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a Cognos report that comes out and we go through them that
And you
morning.
just remove them?
And remove them.
What's on my mind is you could set a fairly early deadline the day of, but I don't know that that's really extending the window much, right? Like if you guys come in the next day and you catch one that was at 10 p.m. I don't know if it matters if it's at 10 p.m. or 6 a.m. as long as it's there before we run that list. But if you set the deadline at 8 a.m., I don't know that anyone's getting that much of a larger window to make a payment.
I believe that job triggers at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so it'd have,
Put into the IVR system
Yeah.
for them.
so it'd have to be real early.
Yeah, and we don't have the staff in here for 7 to guarantee that we.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Is there, could we make the cutoff? Or the time that you cut off later in the day, like at noon or instead of 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 to give us.
Go ahead.
The less time for the customers to reach out to us to try to get it resolved and get reconnected that day. So if we
But they
do-
can't get it reconnected that day. You just said we can't.
They can get it reconnected. They can't prevent a disconnection from going through if they haven't made the payment for the disconnect date. They can make a payment after it gets disconnected and get reconnected within 24 hours.
And then we assess additional fees because we've had the customer go through that process. I mean, it's just, it's.
But the trigger for them going to that process might actually be the disconnect. So if the trigger happens at 3 p.m. and they can't get it restored later that day, then they go a night without power instead of it happening at 8 a.m. and having time or whatever time, but sometime in the morning. It's a rough situation for a customer no matter what, but I'm struggling with if that improves it or not. It's Rob, that's a good point, right? If it happens in the morning and they have a chance to get it resolved, at least they're not without it for an extended time. But I guess the fees are still there.
And I haven't been involved with this part in a long, long time, so Rob, you can help me. But all of these things that happen on the network are all scheduled events that take place over time, okay? And then there's a lot of activity that runs throughout the day in order for us to get all the information and transmit all the information. So now you start talking about modifying that. Well, now you're throwing all those other scheduling services and stuff off. And now that really don't bring in reads that don't be able to disconnect. I mean, there's a lot of traffic across the network and there's so much only throughput with that type of network, so.
With the current process, 80 to 90% of people get reconnected the same day.
Sorry.
Current process, the way it goes, 80 to 90% of people who are disconnected, so people who are disconnected today get reconnected today.
Right.
So very small number extend past the day with the current process.
And hopefully, since now that we've added so much more notification to the customer, I believe there's 6 notifications that the customer gets prior to them being disconnected. So they've received 6 notifications with the last couple. Actually, the bill tells you the date that it will be. And then after the bill tells you, you get, quite a bit of time. Then you receive 2 more texts. You receive 2 phone calls. I think 3 texts. Get 3 texts. 2 phone calls, and it's on your bill. There's 6 notifications prior to disconnection.
How often does somebody call in and try to make a payment and you have to say, "Oh, well, we're sorry, you're going to be, you can make the payment, but you're going to be disconnected." Then we'll have to reconnect you. And does that, I mean, I wouldn't think that would.
I don't know that that happens very often.
I don't think.
I don't even know a situation where that's happened. I mean, if somebody calls at, let's say, 7 o'clock when one of the reps get there, they make a payment online, then it's going to cancel the disconnect anyway.
Right.
It'll
We open
automatically
it-
cancel.
It'll automatically, if they call one of the reps at 7 and they say their service is going to be disconnected today, they can go online and make a payment and it won't be disconnected. It's only after the process is run. So we've given them up until that time to make a payment prior to disconnection.
And let's say that we haven't got here yet. When we get here, one of the reps might send an email and ask the collection clerk to cancel the disconnect because the customer paid and they'll give us the confirmation number. And we'll do that.
So we try right up into the last minute, if you will.
Because at a certain point, there's been 6 communications. I don't know that extending the window 12 more hours is actually changing behavior. The unfortunate thing is what changed behavior is the cut off and then there's a fee with that but I don't know that an extended window does anything
I
that
don't.
communications hasn't done already.
And to that point, there is a lot of notices that do go out.
Yeah.
So, and reminders and.
I made a mistake and I just need a few minutes to get it cleaned up. I'm ready.
Okay, so we were gonna leave that like it was, right?
Yeah, I'm good with it, with the couple of tweaks we already made, but otherwise.
Okay, so on the version that we were. On the version with the full edits that I sent, that I think we were adding edits to in our last session.
Mhm.
I made one additional change there in that second paragraph, following the due date and before the date for disconnection. Because I assume if that a courtesy call or text message would not be sent before the due date. Is that right? I mean, I don't know why it would.
Before the
It's not due.
text message,
They do.
Well, in the late payment notification goes out.
I think it's the day after, 2 days after the due date.
But well before they get disconnected, and then the disconnect notice goes out 7 days before disconnect, right?
That's the phone call.
Okay,
There is
text messages.
the text message that goes out the day before.
Goes out the day before the due date?
No, not, you do after the late payment, actually after the late payment. And no, prior to the late payment, if you haven't paid your bill, when does that one go out? I'm trying to think because I don't know, well, I haven't gotten it. But I know it's afterwards, but I don't think there's one. Okay, they're all after the due date, okay.
That's what I was gonna ask. We could talk through that, not late pay, but yeah, we're on the same page.
Okay,
So then I think that makes sense if you guys are okay with it, just to make it clear that here's the window of time wherein you'll receive a courtesy phone call or text.
That makes sense to me. That I'm good on 1501.
So here's something you don't have to write in, Rose, but it is a problem is we have to use automated processes, whether it's phone IVR calling or whether it's text messaging going out. Paramount that customers keep their phone numbers up to date because they won't receive any of that if we don't have the correct records on them. So just making that point, you don't have to do anything with it.
No, I mean, the language is clear that it's made to whatever's on file.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you know, that's on the customer for sure.
Okay.
To update their information.
Just as a point of adding to that, that was one of the things we brought up.
Mrs. Gonzalez, could you come to
That
it?
was one of the things, if you recall, that we brought up at the community engagement meeting was for the people that were there to make sure that that information got to their neighborhood groups and other places.
Right. And having accurate contact information affects all of our operations. So it's very important.
I didn't have any edits for 1502.
Anybody else have any edits for 1502?
I had,
We have a note on please allow 24 hours that it needs to be discussed further.
Previous, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna ask, we're on 15.2 or 16?
15.02.
Okay.
I remember previous time through that, it was that vast majority of times, it's a pretty quick process, but there may be circumstances in which it would take up to 24.
Exactly. I mean, if, depending upon when the meter shops are available after, a certain time, especially during the summer. Having them get to there, so, but most of the time, just within 2 hours.
Yeah, so I think what that note was, Rob, was whether or not we wanted to include the actual confirmation, the automated confirmation line, the actual number in the policy. I'm not sure that that's necessary in retrospect. So I think we're good there.
So you don't have to go up, is this for all customers or restoring in one class section? I don't have,
For disconnection,
yeah. General.
it's not specific to a class of customer.
Okay, do we need to specify?
Well,
Or is it different?
no, I mean, the restoration of service, it, depends on. So reconnecting residential or single phase meters are one thing. If we roll a line crew truck out to disconnect the transformer rated meter, then it really becomes when that crew now is available to go back out and restore that service, which won't be as frequently as our residential, but it's.
So do you think there needs to be a distinction for non-residential customers?
Or just if this is a general statement for all services, there's something you can add there, maybe for,
I haven't known even our commercial not to, if they have to roll a truck, not to get reconnected within 24 hours.
I can't imagine a commercial customer not burning this place down if they didn't have.
I know.
I don't.
But we're treating all customers the same with this one statement, right? So
Mhm.
that's where I'm going,
Mhm.
so.
But does the 24 hours give you enough flexibility to cover everyone with that?
Well, I would think so, but, if that's what's acceptable to the board, I guess that's why I'm putting it out there.
Let me ask this a different way. What's the consequence if we say 24 hours and, next month it takes 28 hours for someone like are legally liable for not living up to that policy, or are we just gonna get
Hey,
a,
KCBQ,
loud
will use
phone call.
commercially reasonable efforts to,
right, there we go. Right.
Yes.
What about?
don't stand by, Casey.
Yeah.
What about during major storm event?
And I was gonna say, this is
Restoration of service for not paying.
for non-payment. Yes, this is restoration. This doesn't cover storms.
Well, so then I would rename or just add on to the name of 15.02, restoration of service for non-payment in the title. So that's,
It's non-payment hyphenated or all.
I think it's one word. You know what I mean? I mean, so that way
Right.
we're not incorporating storm events there.
That makes sense.
You had some language about some exceptions to allow for the 24 hours.
KCBPU shall use commercially reasonable efforts to restore affected capital S services or service, I don't care which, within 24 hours of payment.
Does that replace the sentence we already have?
Yeah. Mhm.
Like payment submission or post.
Well, Rob, you guys tell me. I would say payment submission, but that's not how the world works here, so.
Are you guys good with payment or do you want to add submission?
At this time, it's supposed to be posted, a payment that is posted, since we don't have all of our payments on real time. We've always said that when it's posted, but we have confirmation lines, so it doesn't get posted, but we confirm with the confirmation number that it has been paid and the correct amount has been paid. So it's just however you take that. It does have to be confirmed, a confirmed payment. So
So within 24 hours,
Of confirmed payment.
and was that and to strike, please allow us 24
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really hate to bring this up.
I don't know that you should go on.
I said, I really hate to bring this up. However, we do have some third parties out there, you know, that sometimes take payments and they will have a receipt. However, it sometimes doesn't show up for us. We have to have them go back to them. So it has to be a BPU affiliated.
So is that
Yes.
commercially reasonable efforts apply there?
Is that, okay, maybe it does.
Yeah.
Maybe that covers.
That might give you.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because they'll use like Ace check cashing and we don't know where the payment, we don't know where the payment is. And we can't confirm that it's actually made to us.
So if I go and pay at Walmart in this case, what does my receipt say?
Just has a bunch of numbers on it. I'm not sure
And
exactly.
they're confirmation numbers, but it doesn't, and it may say that the payment was, I don't even know if it has BPU on there, but sometimes they may. However, if the account number or whatever it is was put in incorrectly, sometimes we don't see that and they have to have it. We can't even research it because we didn't take it.
Mhm.
We have to have them go back to the place that they made the payment and then we give them options on where they could in the future pay, where we take the payments where we can actually look in the background to see if that payment is confirmed payment. But that does happen. So even if it has our name on it, if it's not the right account number, we can't even go back and research what it should have, what happened with the funds. We haven't received them because it takes a lot, quite a little bit of a longer time to get to us than using one.
3 to 4 days or more.
Mhm.
Okay, so Rob, I think what I just heard was 24 hours of payment confirmed. So I'm gonna reverse it now.
Okay.
In KCBPU systems. How's that? For generic.
I love it. Burn and do.
That works. Mhm,
All
absolutely.
right.
Is there any chance that no one had edits to 1601 and 1701?
I'm gonna just do 1601.
No.
Other than the edits,
428.
other than the edits that were, I think, are we scheduled till 4:30 or 5?
Oh, okay, I thought
Eh,
okay, well, then we're right on pace. I apologize.
That doesn't mean that we need to have,
I mean, if we can wrap this up in 2 minutes, then I'm still for it.
why, I didn't come in and say that today, did I? Didn't say it. I changed this, I'm guessing on the dates, and I think I took this off the KCCU's website on that. Because we had summer months, which was undefined. I don't know what our months are, but because the one below it had the dates, thought we should have dates. I
So,
don't know if these are the dates.
so what I'm saying is most of the time, the winter months are always defined as November through March. Summer months aren't defined and some utilities they don't have a weather policy for the summer. It's however they choose to do it. If we use the dates that are in there, and I believe those, I thought those came maybe out of the rate book because the rates are different. However, that leaves the months out that are undefined. So if we say summer, it's anything outside of we use that time frame. Anything outside of November through March. Then we allow that policy to be used. But if we define those, then we leave out certain months that now aren't in here.
So is it April through October? If you just said any time outside of,
Could we just strike during summer months and just say on any day when?
Yep.
I was thinking, yeah.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna get one in February, but
Climate change, you never know.
I don't know if you've heard of this little thing called.
well, but I guess with that, my assumption is a 100-degree day is a 100-degree day, whether it hits.
Literally had a day that it was forecasted to be 101 in February. We would still honor that, right?
Yes.
But
So yeah, that
We
makes sense
have
to
done that
take it all
before, like in
together.
October.
Sure.
Or even in May, it's, it just, you know, it wasn't stated we did.
And
not.
the other thing that I saw was, we're talked about temperature will rise above 95 degrees. I think the intent was 95 degrees and above. Because it says above 95, 95 wouldn't qualify. It'd have to be 96, 97,
Mhm.
98.
right,
So
and that's.
is that the
way
same
it
as
has
the
been.
heat index? So it would be 105 or above?
I mean, that's
Well,
just,
we can tweak it. I mean, we're in the
That's-
middle of this policy. I'm fine with that.
I'm not sure how that,
Cool.
that's fine. I don't know how that's defined, but we can.
Somebody has to ask me a question, 'cause I know it just don't really affect us, but I know Evergy was rolling towards the summer. Did they ever get there?
So when I was there, it's not in the KCC requirements, but it was a business policy. And so we would utilize the heat index.
Okay, but over a period of time, there was the months defined?
They did not define the months because it was anything outside of cold weather rules. So if it was not in cold weather rule, it was just considered all other time.
Okay. Reason why I'm going there is, local news media confuses the heck out of our customers, okay? So when they send a message that when you're in the winter months, now this is not summer, but if everybody's moving towards the summer, hot weather, the rules, then it'll be the same thing there. During the winter, and during the cold weather periods, these utilities cannot disconnect service. So kind of a blanket statement. Well, it's all based on weather. They don't always report that, so. And if our time period is different than some of the other ones, we'll get caught up in that. That's where I was wondering. Do they define theirs based on a certain,
If it's a forecast, it can't be reached. We're forecasting in the future. Forecast to be 95 degrees Fahrenheit or above. See what I mean?
That's it.
It's
projected.
Just looking historic,
To be, huh?
reach is kind of like looking backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when the two, when. so this
The
look at
temperature to be 95 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Yeah, that's good.
Hmm.
And same thing in the other.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then do we want to strike the beginning and just start with on any day?
I think so. I think that's what we're
Yeah.
hearing.
Take all this out and say, on any day. It was just like this and then capitalize it.
right, okay.
So the cold weather policy refers to residential customers. Hence my question above. I mean, does the hot weather rule apply? Where, how does it apply?
It's residential.
Residential only? So we need to say that. So the Chancellor BPU will not disconnect residential
Electric.
electric service. And you might want to correct non-payment in there in both. So, or both of those paragraphs, and take out the hyphen. So we good on 16.01?
think so.
Yep.
It's just a flex pay.
Why are customers flagged as life support not eligible to participate in flex pay?
So they get paid once a month.
They what?
They only get paid once a month.
It's primarily because with the life support, we have to provide extra notification to them. And with flex pay, they get the notice, they go below zero, and the next day they're disconnected. So we wouldn't be able to provide that extra notification time period for them.
And those extra notices go out periodically before they get, I think, 3 notices before they get disconnected.
For
From medical.
non-flex or non-life support,
Yeah,
they'll get, when they get below $15 in their available balance, they'll get low balance alerts until they go below zero, and then they get a pending disconnect, and the next business day, they would be disconnected. So
no,
it
but
just depends upon how much they use every given day.
Tom's talking about life support not being there, so that communication to that life support group. They get 3 notices as well. But because we gotta send those notices out the way we do, they can't be or participate.
For life support,
Yes.
right, we just need to give them the extra notification to make arrangements and everything. That's why we don't want to have someone on life support be disconnected immediately without that extra notification, because we don't want that liability or anything to happen to that customer as well.
It's just curious.
Right now.
On the deposits, I think we cleared up last time because I pulled out the agreement that Angela sent over. Deposits don't apply. So it's not that they may be waived, it's they don't apply
Correct.
per the agreement.
We want to write that, just deposit requirement.
Deposits do not apply.
You want to restate that as deposits not required to flex pay customers or something, because deposits do not apply.
I looked at the top and that's the only reason I made the decision because again, I'm about cutting words. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, no, I am too.
I am. So it says the following provisions apply to the Flex Play program.
Okay.
You could just put no deposits. And honestly, we could probably cut back a lot in a lot of these sub bullets. That I'm sure will be remarked with.
That's shorter.
numerals or Romanettes.
No deposit required.
What? The agreement says no deposits required.
I mean, could we say it in those words? Shorter.
You could also just strike the whole bullet.
That was also true.
That's, you want to say no deposit required?
Is that
Yeah. Mhm.
within the formatting? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do we need to add a note that customers that previously paid a deposit and then moved to the flex pay program will get their deposit back?
Probably.
They don't get it back, it's applied to the account, it's credited to the account. Sometimes when we say that it's refunded, they believe it. It's refunded to.
One note at the end of this, but I don't want to jump over anyone else. Have any other changes?
I don't think I had the other.
Okay, the only thing I have flagged just in my notes here was we do phone/IVR before. I think
I had that.
previously we changed IVR to spell it out.
Phone system.
Yeah, that's right. Automated phone system. Is that what we use before?
Line item, we-
All the way at the bottom when it goes to for reference.
Phone IVR, that was in another one that we had, and we changed the IVR to automated phone system, I think. Or whatever we had before. I don't, yeah. Your notes.
$10.04 still has IVR.
Oh, we just made it in a note. Okay, well, maybe I'm
Up there.
premature.
I think if it's being defined.
And then I think we decided not to define it and then I can't remember, so.
I would support changing it in both places and just spelling out automated phone system.
Agreed.
Sorry, Rob, that was more complicated than I meant it to be.
Welcome, my name.
Okay, let me know when we're ready to go to the debt recovery bullet.
I'm ready. See the difference.
It's the second to last one of the, like, there. Okay, can somebody remind me why we have that the percentage may be 25%? Because, is it because we would never exceed that, but it may be up to 25% because I would be the may.
Sometimes customers want to have more go to the debt recovery, and so they will call us and tell us that we want to have that done. Or agency commitments and things like payments like that, those are, when those are made and committed to, they're based upon the current amount that they are in arrears, not for paying for future service. So when we get those payments, we apply as much as possible to their debt while leaving about a week's worth of service in the account. If that makes sense. But for most payments, for payments that the customers make themselves, 25% automatically goes to the debt unless they.
How about, will be no less than 25%.
Well, it will be on the last payment.
Should be.
We need a term between may and shall. Will generally be 25%.
Okay, so will be applied to debt recovery shall be 25%, comma, and I'm just saying this, I don't know if it makes sense. Unless a customer or a relief agency paying on a customer's behalf chooses to apply greater than 25%. Does that work?
Well, the agencies aren't necessarily choosing, that's what they are committing to, is to help pay off that historical. They're not basing their amount that they're committing to for future usage.
Most of the time, when agency, they contact an agency, it's most of the time to either get a customer turned on or keep a customer from being turned off. So they're committing to pay past due debt. Not,
So they're committing, but a customer is choosing.
Correct.
So unless a customer chooses or a relief agency paying on a customer's behalf commits to apply greater than 25%.
What was the one for the relief agency? I'm sorry.
Well, hang on, we're not.
Is it always the customer choosing to?
no,
Okay, so,
we apply it to that because that's what agencies are paying.
okay,
They're trying to pay off past due amounts because that's what they report to them. So if a customer calls, they'll say, well, how much do you owe? And they tell them that. They're not telling them what what they need to pay in the future.
Sure,
They're
yeah.
telling them what they have. So we have to apply it to the arrears and not toward future payments. Because then that doesn't get paid.
But we don't apply the whole thing. We want to make sure that they have enough for a week's worth of usage, so they don't just get this lump sum in there and all of a sudden it's gone.
Mhm.
We want to make it so they have the ability to find time to make a payment without getting disconnected again.
Okay, so an agency is committing to pay the entire past due balance in this case?
Not always.
No.
Maybe $300.
Customer,
So it could be greater than 25%.
We're gonna go back to Tom.
it's like we have, there's a customer today that in the debt recovery, they owe $1,000
Uh-huh,
and the agency has committed 300.
uh-huh.
So when that 300 comes in, we will take as much as we possibly can to put towards that 1,000, but still leave enough for a week of services for them.
Are there scenarios where less than 25% is applied to that?
Would only be like the final payment when the debt recovery is completed.
So any payments that go into FlexPay, the minimum amount required is 25% goes into debt recovery, right? So that's the minimum. Anything above that, if there's extra put in to pay all past debt and everything else, we're still back to, I think, the 25% or greater.
So could we say at least 25%, except in that instance, the single instance where it might be less than 25%? Or is that still too vague? It sounds like most of the variations from 25% are people choosing to put extra or some go to the agency. But there is a singular instance where it could be less than 25%, and that's the final debt payment. Just assume when Rose gets quiet and types, it's because she has
She's
the
been typing
exact
a lot,
perfect
so.
word combination for us.
I don't know about that.
She doesn't quietly, she does one.
Type a lot faster. All right, so I've gone subcategories now. And I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know what I've been hearing. So it shall be 25% unless Romanet 1, a customer chooses to pay greater than 25%.
Not working on the way it's here.
Can we say notifies BPU versus chooses, because they could choose, but just, we don't know to apply this funds.
So Roman numeral 1. Wow. Goodness.
I said a little Romanet. Do you know it's gonna be all real? Just do little bullets or whatever you want to do. Just indent them.
It's not, that's the problem is, it was.
There you go.
Sorry, our customer chooses.
To apply greater than 25%, notifies BPU.
I prefer notifies because there's many times people say put a large amount on, especially at tax refund time, they'll put it on there. They forget to notify us. And so they've been using it, and so they're not able to apply as much as they previously wanted.
So a customer notifies KCBPU to apply greater than 25%. Good with that?
Okay.
All right. Tell me when you're ready, Rob.
Greater than 25%. Do we need?
Semicolon Romanet 2.
Is that really the term?
It is.
Oh. What was the term?
Romanet, little Roman numerals, little guys. You ready?
Yep.
I gotta say it out loud before, so they make sure that this is right. A relief agency paying on a customer's behalf commits to paying greater than 25%.
When you say commit,
He used the word, I didn't.
so they make a commitment. But they're not specifically saying I'm committing to pay this. So if I would say an agency makes a commitment. or something like that, because they don't notify us and say, okay, I want you to do this, pay more than 25%. We're not gonna get that. We already know once we get that, what our obligation is to do. So I want to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that
Yeah.
Tammy's the one that would know more of the terminology for dealing with the agencies. I just deal with
Commit.
the client.
Yeah,
opinions.
It's a fixed amount though.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Mhm.
Okay, so a relief agency paying on a customer's behalf commits to paying a fixed amount. No percentages there.
I like it.
A fixed amount of the past due balance or just a fixed amount?
Fixed amount.
Okay.
Semicolon or Romanet 3. A final debt payment is being made, which is less than 25%. I don't even know if that makes sense. A final
We
payment.
need to remove the, just say a final debt payment is being made.
Well, but we're saying that it's gonna be 25% unless unless it's one of these things.
On
So-
final debt payment.
Is-
So you're saying we don't.
Well, because it's, you already
It could
said
just be, that's fine. No, I'm good. Yep, a final debt payment is being made. Period.
Yeah, because if they owe $10 and they pay 100, we would normally put 25, we'll just put the 10.
Got it. The good news is this will not be the last time you guys have to look at this, so
So
no force. You didn't give any other
Is there a
scenario.
period at the end of 3? Okay.
I think we can do it unless A, drop the A on each of the bullets.
You sure can.
Very efficient. Thank you.
Should add, these are all
2 spaces out of each.
outside the normal process of flood pay, right? So people are paying, having the process go automatically.
Automatically.
Right, 75%, 25% always happen unless something forces them to go in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Correct. As less manual intervention as possible. As little manual intervention as possible for
Right.
payments.
But yes, so it's
Right.
set up, it's
Okay.
set up for 75, 25.
Yep.
So anything outside of
And
that has to be.
My
intervention.
involvement in the past was only to that level, and all these other nuances came after, when I was not involved.
7-minute warning.
Don't quite know how to say this, but I think we're finished with the document.
what about that? We had that one issue that they were gonna check, IT was gonna check on.
Oh, I
I
don't
had
think
to-
that's done.
They said they'd be done in a week, maybe.
I thought that was
The information out to the vendor and they're not coming.
They have, okay, I just
It went out.
didn't want to lose that because I knew that was.
So are we been ready with that single caveat? Ready to present to the rest of the board and then
I think
have
we're
that
close.
information?
Well, so Tom had sent these,
Another meeting.
Just a couple more half days and we'll be there.
these all been made into the document.
Yeah. Temperature, not, yeah,
That's it.
question of deposit requirement. Yeah,
Yep, okay.
that was,
So you're thinking another meeting is required?
I don't know that it is. I honestly think that it can be done electronically at this point. We are not a quorum of the board.
Okay.
Most of the interaction is gonna be with staff anyway, I
Right.
think.
Okay.
So, I know that this will be a big ask. I don't know that it can be done before we present to the full board, but, I would like to. We're gonna have obviously a full red line and a clean copy of this. On the clean copy, how long is it gonna take to, what's the word I'm looking for? Format it.
Oh, do we,
Yeah.
I should be able to get it done in a couple of days. It really shouldn't take that long for me to accept all the changes and send out a clean version.
Okay. And so I think that once we have that, I mean, look, we understand that there still may need to be some tweaks to finalize some things, right? And on the one section, if we don't have the Kayenta information back, we can go, here's this, if Kayenta can, here's it, if they can't. I think we can just present both of those options in that subsection.
Right.
So I think we're close
All
to
right.
getting it. But I mean, I know we do want to give the board a significant amount of time, the rest of the board to review.
Right, and that's what I was saying. She also reserved time for their comments.
That's right. Absolutely.
So next meeting is with the full board or, where are we at with that?
I think it is because I think our next goal is to finalize any tweaks we may have amongst ourselves
Okay.
and then get that version in a format that's ready for the full board to review on their own.
Okay. So for Don, I'll get with Tom. We'll work out where that schedule is and while you guys are cleaning up everything, preparing it for that board meeting.
Sounds good to me.
We'll kill a few more trees.
I'm not, Tom. Not doing it. Okay, now I did notice on the notice for a work session, you had it starting at 5:10. Did I misread that?
That was, that was to give me time to go over.
the modification.
That was time to give me the time to go over and set up.
We're gonna move.
Move to
we're moving
adjourn.
Work session, it's going to be an executive session. So that's what the time gaps.
Are we okay to adjourn this meeting?
Yes, yes. And then,
To adjourn.
Second.
okay,
Roll call.
Groneman,
Aye.
Mulvaney, Henry,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Right.